Welcome back to New Amsterdam, the podcast for creatives. It is I, the mayor, Flobo Boyce, in the mayor's office. And we're hanging with people who are doing the darn thing. Now, long-term listeners will tell you that I'm a creative writer, but I'm not really good at it. So I had to hit down people who actually is good. Please welcome Lisa Aspelling. Is that even close? Close?
You nailed it. Well done.
That's awesome. Hailing from South Africa, and I promise you this time I won't go into questions about chicken licking. Please welcome Lisa to the show. How's it going?
Thank you so much for having me, Flobo. It's just such a pleasure to be here and to also talk about creative things. I think more people are creative than they realize. I know there's a lot of people that talk about how we squash the creativity out of children.
True.
But actually, we're all still creative if we scratch beneath the surface. So very happy to be here. Thank you.
First question, I'm already going to skip ahead because that was super awesome. Because they always said, the old generation, back in the days, all we had was a stick and we made it work. And the kids nowadays with iPads are not really creative. You're saying that's not really quite the case, right?
Yeah. I'm not a big student in this area, but I love listening to podcasts and listening to TED Talks. And there's a few educators. I think his name was Sir Ken Robinson probably. Mm-hmm. And he does one of the best TED Talks in the world. I think it's still got some of the most views out of all of their TED Talks. There must be thousands now. And he is a huge fan of this concept that all children are creative, and that the way that we've educated them, it can really obliterate their confidence and their creativity. And so to speak to another fellow creative who hasn't obliterated their creativity from childhood is such a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of the fun part to be, at least for me, to pretend or not pretend to have an Arrested Development. It makes my job a lot easier. I feel a lot younger while doing so. So I will say this first. The appeal coming across your profile, we met on a podcast guest exchange. That's kind of this here or there. But you are a writer, but you use your talents for something kind of specific in the niche. And I know that a lot of writers who listen to the show always wonder about that. Your niche is actually the art of mystery creation. Can you talk more about that?
Absolutely. So it all started, about 15 years ago, possibly a bit longer. The date's a bit blurry, but back in the day, in the old days, so to speak, there were these things called murder mystery box sets, and you would purchase them from a toy store or a game store, and each guest would have a script. And then you would have, this is like how old school it is, a tape recorder, and you'd press play on the tape, and this audio narrator would speak you through the introduction, and then every guest would sit there with their script and then read it out. And my aunt, who married a man from the UK, came down one year and brought us one of these box sets. And my family is fairly creative and a little bit adventurous, and we love conversation, so that really helps. And so we played this murder mystery box set and really enjoyed it. But the problem was that the next year, my aunt forgot to bring a game out. And we had gotten so excited about this. And I'll explain kind of the underlying human reasons beneath that. So if you've ever been on holiday with people, or you've spent a lot of time with family or the same friends, you've probably found that you have the same conversations over and over again, to the point where you can raise a topic and you already know what that person is going to say. So
Absolutely.
I have this with my family. Like, we all know each other so well that if I broach any topic, I'm like, I know what my dad's position is on that already. And I think what we loved about it, so we used to call it the cycle of violence, is that we'd spend these multiple nights in a row together on holiday with extended family, and we'd just have the same conversations. And once we'd run out of content, we just repeat them. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of mind-numbing to get into that place where you feel the pressure to spend that time with family, but then you can't seem to have any new conversations. So That was the solution to this very specific problem that I don't think is unique to my family. I think you have that with anybody that you spend a lot of time with.
Yeah.
And so we were so disappointed that this box set didn't arrive. My mom and I decided, surely we can create our own murder mystery dinner. And so that really was the birth of me writing murder mystery dinner parties for people, because it was so successful and we enjoyed it so much. We had friends asking, could we be part of that? So we wrote one for friends. And then people ask me, how can they write them? And so literally that is how this little business side hustle was born. It
Sure.
is through, family repeating stories too many times.
Semi-personal question. Do you have what they call a day job? And if so, is it also creative or is it kind of the opposite?
So I do have a day job, which is also my own business. So I've had a marketing business that I've run for 7 years. And this, it's terrible. I don't know if you know this expression, the cobbler's children have no shoes. I don't
Shoes,
know if
yep.
you know that.
Yeah.
So
My parents are Commonwealthers, so it's not an American expression. My parents are from the West Indies, and that's basically like British colony.
Okay, the British heritage has come through.
Yeah.
So that expression, for those of you who don't maybe know that expression, so a cobbler is someone who makes shoes. And the expression, the cobbler's children have no shoes, is really just this expression that encases the idea that when something is your specialty, you give your own needs and your own interests the least attention compared to all your customers. So that's why my two businesses, my marketing business and this murder mystery business, shame, they get left. That's also South Africanism. Sorry, we say shame when British people would say bless.
Right.
But we tend to put those on the sidelines, unfortunately, because cash flow is everything and cash is king and we need money in the bank. And so these passion projects, which actually do have legs. So for example, this murder mystery business absolutely has legs.
Sure.
It has generated money for me very organically. I've never advertised. I've never done paid advertising for it. And people just find me online or get referred to me through friends who've played games. So yeah, that is true. I have a day job and a side hustle.
So I love that because my next question kind of falls into that. When we're starting something that we love and there's clientele and you are growing it, and you have other responsibilities, whether it's children, other job, I don't know, a car dealership, whatever have you, I always ask, how do you develop the partition between doing the left brain stuff, the payroll, the accounting, the client role, versus the creative stuff, the things you started off doing, the cobbler's art, if you will? How do you decide that? Is it kind of a give and take? Do some days get more than others? What's that like?
So I like Cody Sanchez's approach on this. She's a business wizard. And she points out that when you are small, you don't have the luxury to pass along the activities in your business that you really don't enjoy.
Right. Right.
So I am a terrible procrastinator. I, like probably most other people, push the activities for running my business that I really don't enjoy to the back of the pile. And then when we were about to hit the deadline and crunch time, then I suddenly spring into action and jump through those hoops, whether it's talking to the accountant and data capturing all my banking statements, or if it's even billing clients. I really don't like billing clients. And I don't know if that's a female thing. We don't like to ask people for money, or if it's just in the admin category and that's why I don't enjoy it. But that's something that's bizarre because it brings in the money, but then just the admin around it I don't enjoy. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Absolutely. If I ever get an employee number one, that's going to be the heavy getting money. And it's something I've noticed with this show, because we've asked new entrepreneurs or first timers or people in the 5 years in, what's the hardest part? And overwhelmingly, because most of our audience is women between the ages of 26 and 34, with women and minorities, the most challenging thing, well, one is pricing. We always undercut ourselves, but getting the money after we undercut ourselves is the hardest thing, because you're like, I feel like I'm begging for something I'm already owed. And it's something that I'm not sure if it's a societal thing or if it's a nature thing, a repetition thing, but it definitely is a challenge that we come across.
Yeah, I mean, talking about pricing, sheesh, it's something I need to personally work on, and knowing that the audience is kind of my group of women, maybe you ladies also have this problem, is I have realized that I will undercut myself before I've even sent the client the bill, or I'll give them, like, I call them love discounts.
Right.
And I started realizing this is not good for me in the long run. But I don't know if it's a relational thing, like we're really sensitive to people not being pleased with us, or we're hypersensitive to negative responses from people. We almost take the action before we've had the conversation. Whereas I think maybe more assertive people will just say, well, that's what it cost and that's the time it took. And then if there's a complaint and pushback, then they'll put in some discount features. So that's something that we can all work on. If you have that problem as well, I totally understand. I'm so on your page.
I have a theory, and of course, theories are always living, right? They can always change over time. I do think it is a combination of us not trying to be seen as like dishonest by trying to overcharge, but it's also met by our consumers need to get the best deal. And it just becomes this head where it's like, oh, that's the price? But come on, you know me, man. They're like, all right. But I'm a wedding DJ. That's my day job. I say day job, but I work nights and weekends. But it really hit me because I was discounting things for people for so long. But then it was one particular night. It was after a wedding, so I had my suit on, one wedding, and I have to like move my gear, and I picked up a speaker the wrong way. I threw my back out, and it was a discount wedding that was so discounted that I was like, "What is this for?" And so when I price clients now myself, I have three numbers. I have the sticker price. That's like the price that will make me happy. The cost price, obviously, you want to be over that. But there's one I have called the price of resentment. If it goes below that, even if I make a profit, I'm gonna hate you the entire time. I'm gonna be like, you son of a. So that's been my thing, but it took me a throwing out my back to realize that. You know what I mean? So
that is fascinating. I love that. I've actually had this conversation with other business owners, and there definitely is that point of resentment. And so I think it's such a disservice to ourselves. It's almost like we're betraying ourselves if we're getting to that point.
yeah.
And it makes me think of a little snippet that I saw on social media. I can't remember this guy's name. He was unknown to me. I didn't recognize him, but he was teaching a class in this clip and giving an example of work he did with KFC here in South Africa.
Oh yeah.
And they launched a new product and it just wasn't selling. And they didn't know why. And so he must be some kind of marketing consultant for them. And he said to them, okay, your instinct is to drop the price to get more sales. Why don't we just press hold on that and let's try and increase the price first?
Yeah.
And which is kind of counterintuitive to a lot of us. And they increased the price quite dramatically. And this product just started selling like crazy. And his thinking on it was, firstly, don't automatically go to dropping your price. That was the first lesson. Don't. What did he say? I can't remember the wording of it exactly, but it was like, don't like manipulate people into buying from you. Like, don't make them think that they're doing you a favor by purchasing from you. You're undercutting yourself. It's not useful. So his thinking on this KFC product was that people go to KFC for a treat. And so that when they put this price in place, it was neither a treat nor a little, cheeky spoil. Like it wasn't high and it wasn't low. And so people, it didn't really fit the two reasons that people go to KFC. So I thought it was quite a fascinating lesson for especially small business owners where maybe we need to understand our value and set our value and stick to our guns instead of betraying ourselves and bringing the price down before there's even an issue with the price that we know of.
Absolutely. We actually had a Kayla Methvin on the show a couple of years ago, and she had a similar story about that. For those who remember that episode, the chicken heiress of South Africa. All right. So what goes into making a murder mystery pop? I know there has to be a quality aspect to it, but more importantly, just from someone who's not familiar, there's that balance of something challenging, but not too challenging to the point where you go, you know what? What's on TV?
So that is a great question. And I think like any business, whatever industry you're in, you need to find your niche. What is it about your product, your brand that sets you apart from everybody else? And so I've often found when I'm writing a murder mystery dinner, if I'm not laughing while I'm writing it, then there is a very big problem. And so that's kind of become my, I suppose, my niche is that they are hilarious. These characters and the plot lines that I come up with have to be ridiculous. They have to be so beyond normal that just reading the character descriptions makes you laugh out loud. That's kind of my litmus test for whether anyone else is going to enjoy what I'm creating, what I'm putting together. And so, that's really kind of my North Star when I'm creating. Whoever it's for, whatever the theme is, it's got to be larger than life and pretty ridiculous. Because for me, if you're not laughing at this murder mystery dinner and you're seriously trying to solve a crime, then you're probably having a lot less fun. So my games are not about solving the crime. Like whether people get it right at the end or not, for me is totally irrelevant. It's really the journey and just the ridiculousness of the scenario is where kind of the juice is for me.
Oh, okay. So how do you how do you balance the humor with someone actually being dead? Like it's like he's bludgeoned. Whoa. Like how do you, you know?
So yeah, you do have to suspend reality.
Yo.
So the way someone described this game, because I got a bunch of friends and new people I didn't know actually to join for a game that I hosted for my own connections a few weeks ago. And this guy said it is an elaborate game for adults. And I think as adults, we don't play anymore. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I think just the playfulness that people get to experience is amazing. So you're entering. So I don't know if you've heard this concept, world building.
Oh yeah, I'm a world building expert. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And so, in a sense, a murder mystery dinner is an opportunity to enter a world and build a world together with the other guests. And in that world, reality is suspended, right? So, of course, if you're going to look at murder as this big thing, then you're probably not going to enjoy a murder mystery dinner. But if you can suspend reality and remind your sensitive heart that no one has in fact died, that this is all fictional,
Yeah.
then you can really go for it. So you do have to suspend some elements. And maybe if you've had, like, genuinely, maybe if you've had a trauma and it's triggering for you, then you shouldn't. But if you're
Right.
an
Right.
ordinary
Right.
person that enjoys true crime documentaries and can kind of suspend these elements and remove them from real life, I think you can have the time of your life.
I'm not too familiar with the entirety of the body of your work, but are there some games that share a universe, or are all of them independent?
So they're all independent,
Hmm.
purely because the way each one gets birthed, which is a strange word to use,
I get it.
created, is I meet with a client who wants to have a really special, unique celebration, whether it's a milestone birthday party, whether it's a board of directors who needs some kind of entertainment that's team building, whatever it is. We normally craft the plot. I like to kind of start with the venue. So I'll give you an example. There's a beautiful venue in Cape Town that was actually built maybe 150 years ago by an Italian, a really fancy Italian Venetian designer. And it looks palatial inside. There's just gilt everywhere, gold. I mean, it's like paintings from a few hundred years ago. So when you enter this world, you must embrace that world.
Sure.
So we got told this is the venue for it. So I thought, well, fantastic. Then I'm going to lean into that context and build the world around that surrounding. So it ended up becoming a royal, a
Yeah.
royal murder mystery, but also just absolutely ridiculous and hilarious, but totally informed by the nature of the event, which was a corporate team building evening where a lot of these people had never met. There were some brand new employees who had never met any of their other colleagues, and they were coming together for the first time. And so I just love that becomes the inspiration. I don't have to pull all these things out of myself every time, because I don't know if you find this as a creative, but sometimes even if you love it, it really can demand a lot from you. Like you
Hmm.
really have to kind of give your soul. And so I find that with murder mysteries, I love them, and they are the best kind of fun
Yeah.
and the best way to make memories with people that most people will never forget. Genuinely, they will never forget playing these games if they're funny and they're done well and people show up and buy into them. So yeah, it's just a joy when there are constraints. As any creative will tell you, any architect, if you don't have constraints, it's really hard to design. And so the constraints of the physical venue and the types of people who are coming, it just really helps with the creative process.
Yeah, I'm when I'm building worlds for my creative works. I People always say, "Man, you do too much pre stuff." I have like Bibles and character backsheets and stuff like that because sometimes when you are creating the plot forward or the story forward, you kind of get like out of gas, and it's always good to go look back and go, "Oh yeah, this world has like this thing happening. They have flying dodo birds or what have you." So I just drill me down to the actual transaction of the business, right? You have the mystery. Do you show up? Do you service some of the roles, or do you conscript the employees to be part of it, or is it a mix of both? Like, what does it look like on the ground?
That is such a great question. So there are quite a few ways to do a murder mystery, and I intentionally left off the word dinner. I understand, I haven't done this myself, but I know that there are competitor murder mystery businesses in my area, and the one is actor led. So, from my understanding, you would book a table for 10, so maybe 10 of your colleagues or your family or friends. You would show up at their venue, and then actors I think, run the whole thing and you're just an audience member enjoying a type
That's what I
of
did
show.
once. Yeah, I did that.
And this is not that.
Go
And
on.
obviously I'm very biased, and I think the way that I do them is the best way to do them. But the way that I do them is extremely immersive, and your guests are the entertainment. You don't have to hire actors. The only thing would be you would need to learn how to host. But when you buy one of my products, you can just tick a box that says, yes, I'd like some video training. And then I can jump on a call and explain how it all works. And you don't even have to be good at acting. I am not a good actress, which kind of confounds people when I explain that to them.
Yeah.
But it's not about a performance. It's about enjoying each other. And the other dynamic of my specific style of dinner is that it's 90% improvised. So gone are the days of the box set where you sit and you get performance anxiety because you see your paragraph that you have to read is coming up and you start getting anxious. It's like when you know at school you have to do an oral and you're just waiting and waiting and waiting for that terrible moment when you've got to go up and perform. And so, which used to really scare me. I was a very shy child, which people I think find hard to believe now. But what's fantastic about this game for me, from my perspective, is the only things you have to remember and stick to are your character sketch. So you will have received that before the game. You get to decide how you're going to dress, whether you go all out or just have a little, nod to your characters, also fine, because not everyone likes dressing up. Not everyone wants to go all out and go and hire costumes and go crazy. And so this game works on that level, however dressed up you are or however not dressed up you are. So it's your character sketch you have to remember. And then when you arrive at the party and you sort of are warming up into your character, there's two other things that you have to stick to. And it's the secret that you have to keep that makes you look really guilty of the murder. And then it's a secret that you have about another character that makes them look guilty. And that's at your table. And that's all that you have to stick to. You can make up anything else that you like. And so I think that is the secret sauce for me to these games being amazing, is because people genuinely surprise you. I mean, this game that I played a few weeks ago with friends of mine, the couple that stole the show, the guy had never done a murder mystery in his life. He'd never acted in his life. He's a proper introvert. And he came alive in a way I have never seen. He put on this camp German persona. And was hilarious. And his wife also in her own way was just hysterical. And so, yeah, they were just unbelievable. But again, there was no pressure to perform at my style of game. If you say 3 sentences or 300 sentences, whatever's comfortable for you can work really well, because the group you find starts to adjust to one another and create space. And as the host, which is my role often, or facilitator, is you can call on people and try and draw them out. So that's the main role that I play, besides writing the game, if I am going to host, is just coordinating gently and drawing people in and just sort of managing the flow of the evening. So yeah, super fun.
Man, walk me through, which I assume, I mean, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, the complex ball of emotions of watching strangers perform things that you write in real time with improv while you're hosting.
I have never been asked this question, but that is a really fascinating question to me. So I work with a graphic designer to do the game stationery for me. And at this last game, I said to him, he's super introverted, super quiet, super shy. And I said to him, listen, I know you're going to be uncomfortable, but I really need you to be there so that you understand all the dynamics I keep telling you in an email about font size, and it's going to be dimly lit, and maybe people will be old and they can't read. So all of these elements I wanted him to experience. And he found it interesting because he'd obviously read through the characters and then got to see them played out. And what's fascinating is the elation when someone takes it to a place you didn't imagine it could go. That's an amazing feeling, as kind of the architect of the world that you're all living in for these 2 or 3 hours together. And then there is definitely space for disappointment, which sounds like a strange emotion to experience, but sometimes you've written a character for someone specifically, and sometimes you know them, sometimes you don't. But while you're creating this world and this character, you become very aware of the possibilities and how amazing and funny it could be with not too much effort, given the craziness and the ridiculousness of the plot and the characters. And then when people that you were hoping would run with it and just steal the show don't, and they get quiet and they miss opportunities to make jokes or be funny, or kind of volunteer or contribute, that can be a bit disappointing, but it's always overshadowed by just the uniqueness and the wonderful experience of the group coming together and really bonding and connecting and laughing. And so that's a very good question. Many emotions, but I don't often share the disappointed ones.
Yeah, I would be screaming at like a football manager. Come on, do the thing. Like I would lose my mind if that were me. But it's so cool that you are able to like let it go and let it breathe, and then let them figure out their own way of doing things.
Yeah, I mean, no one wants to be forced to do anything that they don't want to do. So I think
Right.
again, that's just the beauty of the structure. Is if you're feeling shy on the night, you can be shy. You can hold back and enjoy what other people are bringing. If you're feeling kind of boisterous, you can bring that too, and the group really loves it and receives that. And just to go back to your previous question with some examples, I've written 2 murder mysteries in the past where I had very talented professional actors who were coming. And it's not because you need to be an actor, but they were just people that were sort of in my circle or on the periphery of my life at the time. And the one was very disappointing.
Yeah.
I'd given him so much to work with, and it was just like a firework that you light and just doesn't go off.
Right.
It was super disappointing, and because I thought, well, this is literally his day job. He's a really good actor. Like, this will be amazing.
Yeah.
He did not run that evening. It was very disappointing. Then there was another instance where we did a game, and I gave the South African actor who's on the rise in Hollywood. I won't drop his name, but he's on the rise in Hollywood.
Okay.
And he was at this dinner, and I gave him a role with an accent, because that's another dynamic, is when you're writing a bespoke game, you can actually pull on individuals' gifts and strengths and abilities and weird quirks and things. You can write that in. And so I thought, okay, he's a pretty good actor. I'm going to give him an American accent. And this guy ran with his character to the point. So the context, just to fill you in, the context of this particular game was everyone was gathering for a reading of the will. So we already knew that the murder had happened. That wasn't the news. There was no breaking news of the murder. We were there to hear the reading of the will. And this guy improvised to such a level that I still remember the moment very, very clearly. He ascended the staircase halfway, turned around, looked at all the guests, and then asked, could we please have a minute of silence for the deceased?
Okay. Yeah.
It was just superb. So he really, for me, was like one of the standout characters. But I suppose, again, I don't know a lot about acting, but I would imagine that they're actors who are fantastic when they've got a script and they've got their constraints and their boundaries and their prep time. And then there's actors who can take risks and improvise. So I suppose like anyone else.
Yeah.
But
well,
great.
If you're looking for a thug with a heart of gold, I've never been to South Africa before. I will hop on the plane. Economy, I ain't rich. I'll hop on the plane to be a part of everything.
What accents can you do?
That's it. Just me.
Just American. Okay, yeah, that's okay.
That's it. That's all you need. Well, the thing is, in a different country, I sound exotic. That's all that matters.
Well, there you go. Yeah, it is so much fun. Even if you do your own voice. I mean, this is the thing is, I think I've won, because what's great is at the end of these games, we vote for best male character, best female character, and best dressed. And I've only ever won best female character once, when I wasn't hosting, to be fair. I wasn't hosting. I could just lean into my character and go for it. And I put on an accent and really went for it. But yeah, I think when you just lose yourself in the moment and you just commit, like, what do they say in acting? Like, commit to the moment, commit to your character.
Absolutely.
It's just, it is, I think it's a strange way to phrase it, but I think the service that you do to the other guests, like just by bringing that energy and bringing that entertainment, I don't think a lot compares to that. Like, it's a strange experience, actually, going into this fake world together, playing together as grown-ups. It's a very childlike thing to do, to be in this imaginary world when that's not your day job. Like the rest, most people who come have a normal day job, they're not actors. And so I think I've just loved that, seeing how it really brings people together. And even when people don't know each other at the game, when the game ends, the feeling of connectedness is second to none. Absolutely. Because you've already broken the ice, you've already connected, and so you can now go and introduce yourself to all the strangers that you didn't know, and there's already this attachment and this warmth towards everybody. And I don't know if you know this about Cape Town, and I'm sorry, Cape Town, to reveal our deep, dark secrets, but we are known for being quite cliquey, like quite to ourselves. If you didn't go to school in Cape Town, apparently if you move here and you haven't gone to school here, it's very difficult to break into friendship circles. I'm sorry, everyone, on behalf of Cape Town, but this type of event just obliterates that whole dynamic. So.
Yeah. I only know that particular thing from like watching South African movies on Netflix. So it does feel very like, and then like apparently forgive anyone that moves from Johannesburg to Cape Town. It's like a different thing altogether. It's like, all right, they're from Joburg.
Johannesburg does not feel like South Africa to me as a born and bred Cape Townian. Like the feeling in the air, the way it looks is very different. I feel like I'm not in my own country anymore. So I'm sure they feel the same moving down to the mountainside. But sorry, Cape Townians, for outing us. But we can do better. We can be better. Or just do murder mystery dinners with people you don't know.
Hey, I live in Los Angeles. If there's one city that doesn't have the community that way, it's the same way. It's all cut by freeways and neighborhoods and all that. So, hey, we're outing everyone right now. So, okay. So I got to ask you one question, perhaps selfishly, because this sounds like a lot of fun. But again, you're way far away from me. Is there a desire to extend that brand into literature, into books, into movies and TV shows, short films, so I can like experience your craft from a distance?
That is an awesome question. So my brother is a film critic here in South Africa, and he's starting to dabble in producing and making short films and things, which is quite exciting. And so every now and then in the past, once we both entered a script writing competition. Anyway, so we've kind of got that creative writing side in common. And with the most recent game that I wrote, it's very futuristic and slightly perturbing. But he said to me, that could make a really good film. Just that hook from this game. Yeah. If you could write it really quickly, because you know how sci-fi elements and sort of interesting thoughts with new technology goes, if you don't jump on that quickly, it becomes irrelevant or obsolete quite soon, or someone else is going to get there as fast, as you are. But yeah, should I give you my award-winning film script idea?
Let's go. Yeah.
So it's a bit of a spoiler for the game, but it's not even on the website yet, so you can't even buy this particular game yet. But basically, the murderer from this particular game, it comes out. So what isn't a secret is that he is the president of a very successful nation, the youngest president. He's good looking. He's so talented. Everybody loves him. He's unattached, but just this amazing, dreamy president in every way. And what comes out is that he is, in fact, a humanoid AI-run being.
Oh, no.
And that he's being controlled. So the one secret that comes out, he's being controlled by one of the characters at the table. So he's not even a real president because he's not independent. And then the sort of double twist at the end is that he is, in fact, sentient. So you've got this president that people don't know is an AI bot humanoid thing that's now making its own decisions. It's not being run by humans. So we just thought, imagine that film.
Yeah.
With that punchline of the film. I mean, it's kind of terrifying.
Yeah. No, you know what it is? Because first I was like, oh, that's like very Manchurian Candidate, but that twist is so different. You're like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. I like it.
All kinds of possibilities. I know if you listen to conversations about AI, there's even talk about if we get so advanced that there's sort of the globalists running the world, and in a sense it becomes irrelevant who the figurehead is, that then people could eventually swap in the likeness of who they want their president to be. So because the AI is running it, so it doesn't really matter who it really is. So that's even another interesting thought experiment. But great question. I really like that question.
This spring, I'm voting for President 3.0.
I guess there's no point in voting, right? Because it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. No one cares. The globalists will just do what they want to do. Or AI will just run us into the ground, or however that goes.
Vote for the update. I gotta say, this has been a fantastic conversation, Lisa. Thanks so much for being on the show. But now here's the fun part. If someone wanted to connect with you or find out more about your business, how to go about doing that?
So you are welcome to pop onto my website, which is www, which seems obsolete saying that. Don't we all know it starts with a www, murdermysteryguide.com, or I am active on Instagram. So that again is just, my handle is at Murder Mystery Guide. So pretty simple.
Yeah. And last question before we get out of here, we ask all our guests this, the most difficult question of all time. What is your favorite junk food?
Favorite junk food. Is there a category linked to this, or is it just
crisps? You could do like sweets. You could do whatever you like. I mean, it's like, it's not healthy, but I don't care. Dang it, I'm gonna eat it because it's a treat or a hard week or what have you.
Oh, my gateway drug of treats is Nutella.
Oh yeah.
I can't have it in the house because it just doesn't last.
Yeah.
So it has to be monitored. So that is my proper gateway drug out of treats. But otherwise, I'm an ice cream snob for sure.
Oh, a snob.
Quality ice cream. Oh, ice cream snob, hands down, without doubt, for sure.
I love it. Oh, send this back. this is below my standard. That does sound like a Cluedo character.
What's your favorite treat? While we're sharing,
I eat it all. That's the problem. I was a fat kid growing up, so I have a huge sweet tooth. I love like soft baked cookies. That's kind of like what I do now. Ice cream, but I'm not a snob. I eat all that stuff too. Savory stuff. If it's meat between some bread, I'm fine. Steak sandwiches. I'm talking about burgers, hams, anything. It's just pretty bad. But I always tell people, if my last meal, what would be my last meal? I would say beef Wellington with a sprinkled cheesecake. That'd be kind of like the last meal. Kind of.
Okay, that's not bad. I've always said to my friends, we should have an evening called Death Row Desserts.
Okay, I love it.
Where you have to bring the dessert that if you were on death row, you would order as your last dessert ever. So I haven't ever done that, but I always thought, that could be quite a fun murder mystery themed.
You've already written it. It is a death row dinner. Everyone thinks it's a dinner party. The door closes and someone's dead. Who ate my cheesecake? It's going to be.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much. Oh my.